Good evening. Welcome to the June 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. This time I'll call the meeting to order and ask that you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We've had a good crowd here tonight, and I think it's probably because of the variety of proclamations that we have. We have a range of proclamations tonight. We're going to start off with probably the happiest one. This is in recognition of the International Day of Play. And we have Sarah Brown and folks from the Stillwater Board of Directors here to help share this with us. I'll go ahead and read it, and then Sarah, if you guys would like to say anything, we'll invite you up. Whereas play is a fundamental part of every child's development, supporting learning, creativity, well-being, and social connection. And whereas the United Nations has declared June 11th as the International Day of Play, a global celebration recognizing play as a right for all children and a vital part of healthy childhoods and thriving communities. And whereas the City of Stillwater acknowledges that play is not only essential for the growth and happiness of children, but also strengthens family bonds and brings people together across generations and backgrounds. And whereas Stillwater, a Stillwater-based organization rooted in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics education, is dedicated to nurturing the development of young children through imaginative, interactive, and exploratory play, experiences that spark curiosity and creativity. And whereas the City of Stillwater proudly supports Stillwater and their efforts to provide learning opportunities through inclusive and meaningful play that enrich the lives of children and families and prepare young minds for future success. And whereas the International Day of Play provides an opportunity for our community to come together in support of childhood innovation and the lifelong value of play. Now, therefore, I, William Joyce, Mayor of the City of Stillwater, do hereby proclaim June 11th, 2025 as International Day of Play in Stillwater and encourage all residents to support efforts that ensure every child has the opportunity to play, grow, and thrive in a world of imagination and discovery.
Thank you to Mayor Joyce, to the City Council, and the City of Stillwater for recognizing the importance of play for this meaningful proclamation. At Stillwater, our mission is to bring the community together in an immersive, innovative, and inclusive space where everyone can find the fun in learning. We believe play isn't just a break from learning, it is learning. It helps children grow, brings families together, and builds stronger communities. We're excited to celebrate the first ever International Day of Play right here in Stillwater with a special event at Stone Cloud Brewing on June 11th, featuring hands-on learn through play stations created with the support of our incredible community partners. It's free, family-friendly, and open to all, and we hope to see you all there.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thanks so
again.
much. Thanks for all the work you guys are doing on this project, too.
Thank you.
Let's take a picture. I feel like that needs to go get colored on somewhere or finger painted or played with in some way. All right, moving on to more serious topics, or I guess play is very serious, but less fun topics. This is a proclamation in recognition of National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and we do have some folks here in the community who are working on this initiative and have been for a long time. Beth Furnish, Eileen Cravello, and Donna Sinnis, and I'll have them come up and say a few words when I'm done reading this proclamation. Whereas, in an average year, 802 Oklahomans die by guns, and 1,196 are wounded, making Oklahoma the 13th highest rate of gun deaths in the U.S. And whereas the City of Stillwater remains committed to promoting public safety and fostering a community where all residents feel secure. And whereas, in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15, and people across the United States will observe National Gun Violence Awareness June 6 through 8, 2025, wearing orange in honor of Hadia and all victims of gun violence, as well as in solidarity with their loved ones. Whereas the initiative to wear orange was inspired by Hadia's friends to honor her life, choosing orange because it's the color hunters wear to protect themselves and others, symbolizing the value of every human life. And whereas on June 1st, 2022, Dr. Stephanie Hewson, Dr. Preston Phillips, Amanda Glenn, and William Love were tragically killed at St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa, and the Hewson family has encouraged communities throughout Oklahoma to participate in National Gun Violence Awareness Day in tribute to Dr. Hewson, an Oklahoma State University College of Osteopathic Medicine graduate. And whereas anyone can take part by pledging to wear orange on Friday, June 6, 2025, to raise awareness of gun violence and support responsible gun ownership with the goal of keeping our children, families, and community safe. Now, therefore, I, William Joyce, Mayor of the City of Stillwater, on behalf of the City Council and Stillwater residents, hereby proclaim Friday, June 6, 2025, as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the City of Stillwater.
Well, I will make this brief. Mayor Joyce and council members, thank you for doing a proclamation again. And I will just make anyone who's listening aware we encourage people to keep firearms secured from children. That can have really tragic consequences, or if there's a risk of suicide in your home. And people, especially police chiefs, will be sure to say, also don't forget about vehicles, because that's the #1 source for guns that end up in crime. So that's a direct action that everyday Oklahomans can do to prevent gun violence in our state. So thank you.
Thank you for the work you're doing. All right, our last proclamation tonight is sort of a mix of happy and sad. It is in recognition of the Monroes and of Murphy's Department Store here in Stillwater. So we'll read this, and then we'll have whoever would like to say something come up and say something. Whereas Murphy's Department Store has been a cornerstone of Stillwater's downtown for 99 years, serving generations of residents with quality merchandise, trusted service, and a true sense of community. And whereas since 1981, Terry and Nancy Monroe have owned and operated Murphy's, carrying forward its proud legacy with dedication, vision, and a deep love for the city of Stillwater, while tirelessly volunteering with numerous community organizations. And whereas in 1995, the Monroes hired Becky Moore as the store manager, and her long-standing leadership has contributed significantly to the continued success and spirit of the store. And whereas in the late 1990s, Terry Monroe successfully secured a Main Street grant to update the store's facade, and in a particularly memorable project, constructed a $10,000 ADA-compliant restroom, a humorous yet impactful milestone that exemplified his commitment to accessibility and downtown revitalization, complete with guided tours and its own ribbon-cutting ceremony. Whereas under Terry and Nancy's leadership, Murphy's has been more than a store. It has been a gathering place, a symbol of local pride, and a testament to the importance of family-owned businesses in shaping the heart of the community. And whereas in 2025, Murphy's Department Store will close its doors after nearly a century in business. And as it does, the city of Stillwater reflects with deep gratitude on the legacy Terry and Nancy leave behind. Now, therefore, I, William Joyce, Mayor of the City of Stillwater, do hereby honor and express heartfelt appreciation to Terry and Nancy Monroe for their extraordinary contributions to the Stillwater community through their lifelong dedication to local business, civic engagement, and the enduring spirit of Murphy's Department Store. as you all come up, I would just add from a personal note that all of my wedding china and all of the at least half the wedding gifts that I received 25 years ago this summer came from Murphy's Department Store and continue to be cherished items in our home, and we'll always remember Murphy's for the role that they've played that the store has played in my life personally.
Thank you. I think within the 44 years that we've been owners of the store, we've worked with at least 3 generations of brides in Stillwater. And I want to first thank everybody that's been shoppers with us for a long time. It's made the job easy for us. We really appreciate it, and we just thank people. Also, I did want to mention specifically the city of Stillwater, because the relationship we've had with Stillwater has been much, much better than relationships that we've had with other stores that we've owned. And we've always felt really, really gratified to be here. The council has been very supportive of both the downtown area and our store in particular, and we appreciate that also. One of the things that I get asked pretty frequently is why we're closing the store.
Why are you closing?
Well, the most important thing, I think, is that I'm going to be 80 this year. Nancy's just a little older. Becky's been with us for 30 years, and we're all pretty much ready to try something a little different for a while. I've already lived through half of a normal retirement, so I think that's basically what I wanted to thank everybody about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Well, we're surprised by this proclamation, but we're very appreciative of it. And we've enjoyed being a part of the Stillwater community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's hard to imagine in 99 years the ups and downs of downtown Stillwater. I know certainly over part of that time Murphy's was probably the one thing holding most of downtown Stillwater together, and so we certainly appreciate the history of Murphy's, and we'll miss that anchor downtown. But you are leaving downtown Stillwater better than you found it, for sure. Done a lot of work to help make downtown Stillwater continue to thrive. So again, thank you so much for that. All right, counselors, that takes us to item 4 on the agenda, which is our consent docket. Questions, comments, or items to remove from consent?
Please remove item C.
Item C will be removed from the consent docket. Further questions, comments, or action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve consent docket minus item C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket minus item C. Please vote. Consent docket minus item C is approved with a vote of 5-0. Councilor Hawkins, Councilor Harden, any comment on the item?
I'd like to table this till the next meeting, 2 weeks from now, so we can have the contractor here to answer questions.
Okay. I don't think we need a motion to that effect. We'll just make sure it's on our next agenda. Thank you. That takes us to item 7, public hearings. 7A is receive public comment for a map amendment to rezone 1002 South Husband Street from 2-family residential to commercial business, CC-25-86. Did we have good notice?
Yes, we do.
Henry.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chair and councilors. My name is Henry Biebelheimer, the senior planner here with the City of Stillwater. Today we're hearing map amendment for 1002 South Husband Street to rezone from RT, residential 2-family, to CB, commercial business. Here's the area map for the property that shows it on the southwest corner of 10th and Husband. Here's the aerial view where you can see the proximity to Empire Slice and Stone Cloud. Here's the area view standing from Husband looking west. Here's the zoning map where you can see the RT to the west and south of the property. You can see the CB to the north. And you can see this little blue square, which is RT residential 2-family 2CB commercial business. That's going to be on your second reading later tonight. Here's the future land use for the property, which shows it and the surrounding uses as commercial. So the context for this project is that on October 1st, 2024, it went to Planning Commission, where it was recommended approval with a 3-0 vote. Then it went to City Council on October 21st, where it resulted in a tie vote, which was 2-2. Pursuant to City Code Section 256, a tie vote shall be considered no decision. So tonight it's coming before you again for a decision to be made. The applicant, Corey Williams, is here if you have any questions. Do you have anything for staff?
Councilors, any questions for staff? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. We have the applicant or a representative from the applicant would like to speak.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors, thank you for the opportunity to be back here. Again, kind of operating in the same area that I've been operating in. I think probably the most important thing I'd like to highlight is kind of twofold. One, this does fit within the comprehensive plan. And number two, a few years ago, we could have done this without having to stand in front of you. When the bid was originated back in, I want to say 2008, I could be wrong, a year or two. Part of that was to allow these uses by right. And when the bid expired, so did the overlay zoning that went with it, hence the reason that I'm here this evening. And so I've done Stone Cloud and Empire, and when we came before you for those, there was some fear about deleterious effects to the neighborhood. I don't think that those have been borne out. And I intend to repurpose the existing house by adding on to the back of it, and I intend to make it a neighborhood restaurant, utilizing the 1930s craftsman architecture. And to prove that out and how dedicated I am to that neighborhood, and if you go right around the corner to 1005, I stood in front of this council and I had to have it rezoned once upon a time as well, so we can move a house in that we took from West Street to replace an existing house that couldn't be saved. And it's craftsman and it fits in, and if you drove the neighborhood, you would never know that we did that. And so I'm hopeful that prior successes and keeping my word and the fact that this is a part of the comprehensive plan will give a little bit of latitude to what we plan to do in the future. And I'd be glad to stand for any questions.
Councilors, any questions? Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
I also have Janet Rogers signed up to speak.
Hi, my name is Janet Rogers, and I live at 1006 South Husband, the house directly south of this property. And I'm just here, as I've been many times now, saying that I thought when I moved into, and can someone tell me when this plan for commercial use went into place?
Yeah, the comprehensive plan was last adopted in 2012 or 2013.
Okay, so in any case, I'm just, concerned about the fact that it's, the commercial business is encroaching into my space now, into my living space, and that, it will continue to do so.
Thank you for being here. I don't have anyone else who signed up to speak. Was anyone else here planning to speak on this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. I guess we already got the recommendation from Planning Commission on this one. What's that? No. Anything else we need from staff?
Just exactly as you said, the Planning Commission recommended 3-0. Staff supports this recommendation.
Thank you. Councilors,
Well, let me start off by saying that I was one of the no votes last time. And the reason for my no vote was that this property at 1006 was going to be surrounded on both sides by this business, and on the south side, a parking lot. With that, we had two things in front of us that night, and I was concerned about that, and I voted no. I'm fine with this proposal without the parking lot. So.
I guess I'm the reason there was a 2-2 vote because I was.
You weren't here that day.
I mean, I think these are tough, right? Any kind of this sort of a zoning question is probably the toughest, or at least one of the toughest things we deal with as council, right? Because we're talking about the conflict between existing areas and existing neighborhoods and the growth of commercial areas or the growth of other uses into those areas. And we just talked about the 99-year history of downtown Stillwater and sort of some of the changes we've seen over time and the way things evolve. And you know, I mean, it's difficult, right? Because you know, we had a hearing 2 weeks ago or whenever the last one was on that other corner, you know, with similar sorts of concerns around changes to the nature of that neighborhood, and given its proximity to Main Street and its proximity to Block 34, which will be open here in just a little bit, and its proximity to other newer growing businesses in the area. I think it's difficult to say that the nature of that area is not going to continue to change in some way. But that's a hard thing to deal with if you already live there. And it's hard for us to try to make decisions that unfortunately impact other people's lives way more than they impact our own specific lives. And unfortunately, I guess that's what we signed up for in taking these seats. So from a personal standpoint, I think that what we're seeing in that area is a positive thing overall to the city. And I understand that it has an impact to the current neighborhoods in some ways, for sure. You know, hopefully those uses can be found to coexist in good ways. I do think that the history of development around there has been done in a thoughtful way, and I would expect it to continue to be done so. So I would support the rezoning on this one.
I also was a no vote last time. I agree with Councilor Clark. My concern was kind of the bigger picture we were presented that evening. I also agree, Mayor, these are challenging, but I do appreciate that the plan is to preserve some of the character that can often be have a buffering effect, I think, to the commercial development that's happening around, to have some kind of softer transition into commercial. So if it in fact preserves that home and the character that goes along with that home, you see a lot of urban spaces where that can be a really successful way to kind of protect the residential character that comes alongside and next to that. So I think it could be a part of helping maintain while transitioning that area.
Further comments? Action on the item?
I would make a motion to accept Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation. Please vote. The request is approved with a vote of 5-0. Next up is item 7B, which is to receive public comment regarding a request for a specific use permit to allow churches and other religious institutions at property addresses 1307 North Husband Street. I think we have a memo to withdraw this item from the applicant.
That's correct. Staff received a request from the applicant to withdraw, so nothing further is needed on this item.
All right. That takes us to item 8, general orders. Presentation, discussion, and consideration of the adoption of a Stillwater Regional Airport Master Plan. Kelly Reed.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. We're excited tonight to bring you the airport master plan. We have Kelly Maddox with Mead & Hunt that will be providing a presentation and an overview of that master plan. But just high level, an airport master plan is very similar to a city's comprehensive plan, where we talk about the existing facilities available at the airport, what's required for development, and then it proposes potential development for the airport, both separated into aeronautical and non-aeronautical uses. Additionally, this master plan project included an update to our airport layout plan, which is a planning and engineering document of the airport that identifies and outlines airport protected airspace and all airport surfaces and airport facilities, both aeronautical and non-aeronautical. Our last airport master plan was adopted in 2008, so it was time for a new master plan. That master plan did not have any information about our commercial air service, so this does update with that information and really provided the foundation for the terminal that we've been developing. So without further ado, I'll introduce Kelly Maddox to come give you an overview of this document.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for letting me be here tonight to make this presentation. It's a brief 110-page slide presentation. No, I kid. So my name is Kelly Maddox with Mead & Hunt out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were one of 4 consulting firms that helped prepare the master plan. So we thought it was important just briefly to touch on what is an airport master plan. Kelly talked a little bit about that, but it's a decision-making tool to help guide the orderly development at the airport, much like the comprehensive plan for the city. Lays out the physical facilities of the airport in the future. It's a 20-year strategic vision where we look 20 years into the future as best we can with what information we have at the time. It's an FAA tool for planning and programming, allowing them to know what the plans are for Stillwater so that they can, so that they can program the capital funds necessary to help fund the facilities at the airport. It helps to inform the follow-on NEPA documents, those National Environmental Policy Act documents that are required by the federal government for facilities that require federal funds. It helps inform the city and county for land use and transportation plans. It's flexible to allow for uncertainties as much as possible, but it should be supported by fact and logic. What a master plan is not, it's not a business plan. We did not market the airport, and we can't by FAA regulations market the airport to aerospace or other companies to come and locate it at Stillwater Regional Airport. It's not a strategic plan where we set goals and prepare staffing items for like that. It's not a noise study, although we did update the noise contours for the airport as a part of the plan. It's not a regulatory document, doesn't regulate anything. And it's not an FAA development mandate nor a guarantee of funding, but it does help to get funding for those facilities, and it is not rigid and inflexible. So the master plan focus areas for this airport, for Stillwater, we knew going in that there are several items that are shown here, but first and foremost will be the forecast and the air service development. What types of employments, passenger activity, and aircraft activity would occur in the future. The terminal building was certainly a known facility that we would need to examine in detail, as well as the overall terminal area itself. At the time when we started the master plan, the planned Western Avenue corridor we thought was a sure thing, and we had planned to look at the area, not only the terminal building, but the whole terminal area, and how could that develop to meet the demands in the future, as well as to help revenue development, always a critical component at the airport, engaging the stakeholders that operate at the airport, like the airlines and the local tenants, but as well as try to engage the surrounding neighborhoods and the surrounding people as much as possible, as well as OSU and other institutional and economic development entities within Stillwater. And then finally, implementation. How do we pay for it? Always a critical component of anything, right? So those were the master plan focus areas. We knew that going in, and that held to be true as we went through the study. This is just a sort of a Gantt chart to show you what the master plan process consists of, where we do an inventory of existing facilities that tell us what we have at the airport. We do the forecast, which is what demand do we expect over the long-term 20-year time frame. We then compare those existing facilities to the demand, and we'll note any deficiencies with the facilities at the airport. And where we have those noted deficiencies, then we will evaluate alternatives that best meet that deficiency in the future, and consider lots of and very different elements in that the alternatives evaluation. What those changes will look like then are input into the airport layout plan, which, as Kelly mentioned, is what the FAA requires that we put down and allow them to see what the plans are. And then the financial plan is, how do we pay for everything? And all throughout that, there is stakeholder engagement and public outreach. We had 4 stakeholder engagement meetings and 2 public meetings during this process. So forecasting being one of the key things of a master plan, the metrics that the primary metrics that we looked at were the passenger employments. That's always key at a commercial service airport. The aircraft operations, but not only the commercial service operations, but the general aviation as well. The based aircraft that we anticipate being located and where aircraft calls Stillwater Regional Airport home. That's where they're at when they're not flying around. And then finally, the critical aircraft analysis that gets input into how we evaluate the facilities by runway design code. The aircraft are, by FAA standards, are designated into certain criteria. And so you design facilities based on that critical aircraft. So here's just a comparison of the approved forecast that we submitted to the FAA and they approved. And we started this process in June of 2021, which meant we had to use the fiscal year 2020 operational data, and a fiscal year for the FAA is from October 1 through September 30th. So we had the 2020 data as a starting point, and the top row indicates where we anticipated the forecast to go in the 20-year time frame, and we're showing only 5 years here, but there's a small thing that happened in 2020, right? Really small thing. And so the first year that we had to look at for 2021 was what would be the bottom dropout from the employment numbers as they decreased. So we thought that there would be somewhere around 15,000 operations from 17,000 in 2020. In reality, the second row, it wasn't as bad as we anticipated. As we work our way through the timeline, you can see that what we anticipated to happen, 2022, is actually exceeded by a significant amount. So what that tells us is that Stillwater Regional Airport rebounded from the COVID-19 pandemic a lot faster than we anticipated, the FAA anticipated, I think anybody could anticipate it at the time. And in fact, in 2023 and 2024, that rebound continued to occur much faster than we anticipated.
And just to be clear, this is everything, not just commercial?
These are employments. Yes, includes the chartered athletic employments as well as the commercial
everything.
Service. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Perfect,
Yes.
thank you.
So, and then where are we at now? Well, 2025, the fiscal year isn't quite over, but it is estimated about 35,000 and some change in employments by the end of the fiscal year, which just tells us that Stillwater Regional Airport is on pace to exceed the 20-year employment forecast by next fiscal year.
But employments does not include general aviation or the flight school or those things.
It's just, yes, commercial service and the chartered athletic teams for the universities.
Okay, thank you.
So really, it's have exceeded expectations by a good deal. And so when we looked at forecasting for operations, I won't go into detail on this, but what's critical is to know that from the FAA standpoint that the existing critical aircraft right now is the Bombardier CRJ 700, a 65-seat aircraft, which is currently operating there. I will say when we finished the forecast, that was a 50-seat aircraft at the time, and the airlines have since transitioned to a larger aircraft. The future aircraft is a 76-seat Embraer ERJ 175. So sometime in the future, what we know about the airline industry, they plan to transition to a much larger aircraft, seating capacity-wise. And that's for the runway 1735, the north-south primary runway. And for runway 422, the critical aircraft is the Cessna 172 type aircraft that primarily used by the OSU Flight School, but among other general aviation aircraft as well. So when we convert the forecast into the required facilities, we examined both the airside and the landside facilities. Airside are the runways, taxiways, and aprons. Airside, or landside being basically everything else on the airport. And the airside requirements, what we found is to continue to plan for improved instrument approaches at the airport. That's a critical thing, and continue to plan for that. And there were some minor FAA taxiway design criteria that just needs to be addressed in the future. The biggest portion of our analysis dealt with the landside area and primarily the terminal, the passenger terminal building, the roadway access, the curbs, the apron, and the parking. So that was a major component of the master plan. But we also looked at the airport traffic control tower, the rescue firefighting facilities needs there, snow removal equipment, storage facilities, and just both small and large scale aeronautical facilities. So we evaluated all those for future facility needs. And as you might imagine, the terminal building did rise to the forefront of those needs. And so when we evaluated the needs, we considered the assumptions of that it would be used by both the scheduled commercial service passengers and the chartered university athletic teams. It would be a dual-use facility, much like the existing terminal functions now, only bigger and better. It would have a minimum of 2 gates and two hold rooms, and a minimum for 2 airlines occupancy. So there's only one airline now, American Airlines, that operates there, but to not inhibit a competition in the future, the assumption was to have space for 2 airlines. And then the minimum for the apron will be to accommodate 2 of the Boeing 737-800 aircraft, which are primarily used by the chartered airlines to fly the university athletic teams in. So just to give you an idea, when we did that, the 2020 terminal building requirements indicated that there'd be just shy of 30,000 square feet of a terminal facility, and the existing terminal building only provides 10,000 square feet, give or take, and 1,000 square feet of that is used by the FBO. So you can see that even under their 2020 conditions, the terminal building was upside down in needs, severely underwater. And then by 2040, the 20-year forecast is anticipated that the square footage needs would grow to about 32,000 square feet. So that's what we used when we turn to look at the alternatives for the terminal building, and I'll briefly touch on those. We considered 3 different alternatives. The first was Concept 1, as we termed it, and that located the new terminal, the larger blue rectangle, to the north and east of the existing terminal building. North is up on this map. And it placed it where it is currently being built, but this was an alternative that we looked at. We looked at not only just the building itself, but obviously the roads, the parking, the access, the other needs that would follow, or the other facilities that would follow when the terminal building was completed and updated. And what will we do with the existing terminal building? The Concept 1A was to tie into the existing terminal building, but provide that additional 32,000 square feet and hopefully repurpose some of the existing terminal building. At least we thought that would be a good idea. And then the Concept 2 then was to just totally get rid of the existing terminal building and look at building the terminal to the east of the existing terminal building. And each one had its pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages, but the preferred site that just rose to the top in most of the evaluation criteria was the one where it is currently being constructed. It just made a lot of sense from a variety of different reasons. Which led to, as most of you probably have seen before, the terminal building for the new terminal, or the floor plan for the new terminal building. I won't go into all the different details of it, but 2 airline spaces, 2 hold rooms, bag claim, all the things that you would see at any terminal building in the United States, just on a little bit smaller scale. Which also, these are the renderings. I'm sure you've seen those as well, but just a wonderful facility that was designed by McFarland Architects out of Tulsa. I know them well, and I just think it's going to be a great facility and an enhancement to the community in general. And just to prove that we didn't only look at the terminal and the terminal area only, the whole concept for the whole airport is illustrated here, where we've showed the terminal area as well as continued GA development to the north and east, southeast of runway 422, as well as to the west of the main north-south runway, and eventually a plan for a parallel taxiway on the west side to accommodate long-term aviation development growth on the west side of the airport. And then how do we pay for it all? Well, briefly just summarized, for 20-year time frame, roughly $161 million. Sounds like a lot of money, and it is, but it's a 20-year plan, and much of that investment is anticipated to be private investment. Someone leases the ground at the airport and they build their own hangar that will require no money from the city of Stillwater or the airport or anything else. So a significant portion of that is private development or continued investment from OSU to continue developing the flight school out there. So significant amount of money, but it's not unbearable, not doable. And then just as a summary,
Easy for you to say.
it is easy for me to say. But the requirements to implement the capital improvements will be continued FAA discretionary support. FAA has entitlement grants and discretionary grants, and they give the discretionary grants at their discretion. And so that to fully implement the plan, that will need continued discretionary grants, continued city support, financial support, as well as the continued funding from other sources, such as OSU, state grants from the Oklahoma Department of Aerospace and Aeronautics, the private third-party funding sources that I touched on, and any other economic development that the city or the airport can receive. And then finally, the continued congressional support and funding of the Airport Improvement Plan, or Airport Improvement Program, excuse me, which is the entitlements grants that the airport is entitled to based on passenger employments. So with that, I will end my 110 slide presentation and just address any questions and just say thank you.
Councilors?
So this is the latest in a whole long series of steps. There have been public meetings. I attended one of those at the airport.
Yes.
So presuming we approve this tonight, what happens next?
When it's approved, it becomes a part of the city plan, and Kelly then goes about implementing the projects at the airport as we have shown in the plan. And I would say that it is meant to be flexible. We know that a plan is only as good as first year, and after that it becomes out of date. Mm-hmm. So as priorities change, as funding needs change, or funding elements change, it is intended to be flexible and allow Kelly and the city to implement the newer priorities as they see fit. But continued improvement and investment in the facilities are the next steps on an annual basis, daily and annual basis.
Okay. So how often should we update this, or how often are we required to update this? And it really should this be an ongoing process?
It is an ongoing process. Kelly should address those annual projects and adjust as necessary. It's not mandated by the FAA that you update the ALP or the master plan at any certain time periods. What they will say is that as your needs change, if employments continue to exceed expectations, you may need to readdress this much sooner than maybe you would have if they just go along at a steady pace. If the airline fleet changes vastly different than what was anticipated, that can dictate a change to evaluate what the future will hold, and are you adequately supplying them with the needs, those sorts of things. But usually it's based on the demand or anticipated demand. If you were to be able to entice a 747 MRO facility, maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility to come to Stillwater, and they're flying in a lot of 747s, you need to reevaluate. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, 10 to about 8 to 15 years is normal given a commercial service airport. Okay. And how well we did our jobs. And if another COVID pandemic doesn't come around too.
I think you could sit down now.
Thank you very much.
I wasn't. Other questions? I would just, I mean, I think the numbers on employments is great to see that increase and exceeding the prior sort of forecasts, but it's also something we talk about a lot, needing to support our commercial service by continuing to improve those employments. We would love to see more people flying in and out of Stillwater. I think the new terminal will have a great effect on helping get the word out for folks that are looking for a place to fly in and out of. That Stillwater Regional Airport's a beautiful place to fly from and to. So we'll continue working on that. Thanks so much. Resolutions. 9A, Resolution CC-2025-8, a resolution of the Stillwater City Council adopting an operating budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026. I don't know that we need any additional comment on this. We've had our hearings and done all of our budget work. Questions, comments, or action on the resolution?
I would just say thank you so much to Christy Cluck and the Finance Department and all of our city departments that were willing to look at their finances to see where they could cut back some. It's such a behind-the-scenes task, but it's so important to be good stewards of our funding. So, Christy, thank you and your department and the entire City of Stillwater organization for taking this so seriously.
Absolutely.
And with that, I would move to adopt Resolution CC-2025-8.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Resolution 2025-8 is adopted. Resolution number CC-2025-9 is a resolution of the City Council adopting the updated master plan for the Stillwater Regional Airport.
I move adoption of Resolution CC 2025-9.
Second.
With a motion and a second, please vote. Resolution CC-2025-9 is adopted with a vote of 5-0. Item 10 is ordinances on first read. Ordinance 3571, an ordinance to rezone 1002 South Husband Street from two-family residential to commercial business. This is from earlier this evening. Councilors?
Move to advance Ordinance 3571 to second reading.
Second.
With a motion and a second to advance the ordinance, please vote. The vote of 5-0, Ordinance 3571 is advanced to second reading. On second reading, we have Ordinance 3570, an ordinance to rezone properties addressed as 1017 and 1023 South Husband Street from two-family residential to commercial business. Councilors?
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3570.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Ordinance 3570 is now adopted. Reports from the officers and the board. Ms. Carnley?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Moore?
Yes, I've got a couple talking points this evening. We're committed to protecting our customers, especially when it comes to fraudulent scams. And unfortunately, recently we've been alerted to calls where individuals are impersonating Stillwater utility and billing staff and demanding payment over the phone. And while the City of Stillwater may place courtesy calls to notify its customers of potential service issues, we will never ask for immediate payment over the phone or for your personal financial information. So if you're ever uncertain, hang up, call our number at utility billing at 405-742-8245. It's option 9, or you can just look up that information on our website too for the contact information. For my second announcement, we want to express our deepest appreciation to Fire Chief Terry Essery for his 20 years of dedicated service to the Stillwater Fire Department, his leadership commitment to our public safety, his unwavering support of our community. We all know Terry and Amber and his family and love them, and they've had a lasting impact on our community, especially his leadership during the recent March wildfires. Recently, just I believe earlier today, Edmond Fire Department announced that it has hired him as their next fire chief. And while we're sad to see him go, we're also excited for this next step that him and Amber are ready to take with their family to a new challenge. And so we sincerely thank Chief Essery. He's not only an employee, but he's a close friend of mine and our staff. And so we just wish him the best. And we share in his excitement.
I don't know if we share in his excitement.
I don't know. That one someone wrote. I actually don't agree with that. But we do love Terry and Amber and their kids. We we will definitely miss him and his leadership, but we're excited for what's next for him.
Chief Esser has been a fantastic part of the Stillwater Fire Department for a long time, and his leadership just in the last few months has never been more evident. So we're certainly going to miss him around here, and congratulations to Edmund in getting a really great fire chief. Vice Mayor.
Yes. Stillwater Community United will be celebrating Juneteenth at Southern Woods Park on Saturday, June 21st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. All community members are invited to gather for games, music, free food and drinks, and entertainment for the whole family. For more information about the event, go to visitstillwater.org/SWO Community United. Also, City Hall will be closed in observance of Juneteenth on Thursday, June 19th. Trash, recycling, and yard waste will be collected as usual. Mayor, if I might, is anyone speaking to the FEMA location tonight?
It's not on a talking point.
Would it be okay if I use that as a talking point? I just wanted to let everyone in our community know that we were accepted for federal assistance from FEMA if you were impacted by the wildfires on March 14th. There are 2 resources that are currently set up at our community center. The Disaster Loan Outreach Center will be set up with the Small Business Administration associates and room 102 until June 11th. They will be there Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., plus Saturdays, May 31st and June 7th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And FEMA will be set up at the Stillwater Community Center also in room 110, and they will be there Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., plus Saturdays, May 31st and June 7th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. They are not sure how long they will be there, but they do anticipate that they will be there for 1 month. We just encourage anyone that has been impacted by the fires to go in and talk with the SBA folks and the FEMA folks to understand what resources they might have available to them in terms of federal assistance.
Thanks for throwing that in there. That is important. They've got banners and stuff outside the community center I saw today, so yeah, encourage people to go check them out. Councilor Hawkins.
Stillwater Art Integration has kicked off the Utility Box Art Program again this year. This contest is open to all community members, and this year's theme is Stillwater Strong. This beautification and graffiti abatement initiative was a great success last year, and I think anyone who has seen the utility boxes around town would agree with that. And we look forward to seeing your art submissions. For more information, go to stillwaterok.gov/art.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilor Clark.
Well, it's getting warmer and school is out and the splash pads are open. They are located at Boomer Lake Park and in Southern Woods Park are open daily from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. They're only closed if there's inclement weather or if they're being maintained. Get ready to get out, get some sunscreen, take the kids and splash into summer. And then for Councilor Harden, he asked me to read this for him.
I have no voice.
We have, as normal, many opportunities to serve on committees and boards of the city, and we encourage you to apply. We're currently looking for passionate residents to join committees including the Board of Drainage Appeals, the Audit Committee, Board of Adjustment, and the Building Trades Board. Learn more and apply today at stillwaterok.gov/citizen boards.
Please do. Thank you. Since it's now June, I'll remind you to save the date and celebrate Independence Day with Stillwater's 31st Boomer Blast Fireworks Show, Friday, July 4th at Boomer Lake Park. Festivities will kick off at 6:30 p.m. with food trucks, music, and more. Fireworks show will begin around 9:30. For those who prefer not to attend the event in person but would like to watch the fireworks show, it will be streamed live on the City of Stillwater Facebook page and YouTube channel. The city will continue to share event details on social media and our website, stillwaterok.gov/boomerblast. Happy Independence Day. Anything further? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the City Council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now adjourned. At this time, I will call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for June 2nd, 2025. Trustees, questions, comments, or action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
With a motion and a second to approve consent, please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket's approved. Our only other item on this agenda is Resolution SUA 2025-2, a resolution of the Stillwater Utilities Authority adopting an operating budget for fiscal year 2025-26. Trustees.
I move approval or adoption of Resolution SUA 2025-2.
Second.
With a motion and a second to adopt the resolution, please vote. The resolution's adopted with a vote of 5-0. Anything further from the officers of the board? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
With a motion and a second to adjourn SUA, please vote. The vote of 5-0, the Stillwater Utilities Authority is now adjourned. At this time, I will call to order the Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting for June 2nd, 2025. Trustees, action on the consent docket.
Motion to approve consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. Consent docket's approved with a vote of 5-0. Item 5 is Resolution SEDA-2025-2, a resolution of the Stillwater Economic Development Authority adopting an operating budget for the fiscal year 2025-26. Trustees?
Motion to adopt resolution SEDA-2025-2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that resolution is adopted. Anything further? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn SEDA. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater Economic Development Authority is now adjourned. And for one of the few fun times of the year, I will now call to order the Stillwater Public Works Authority special meeting for June 2nd, 2025. Trustees, action on the consent docket.
Motion to approve consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket's approved. Item 5 is Resolution SPWA-25-2025-1, a resolution of the Stillwater Public Works Authority adopting an operating budget for the fiscal year 2025-26. Trustees.
I move adoption of Resolution SPWA 2025-1.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that resolution is adopted. Anything further? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn SPWA. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater Public Works Authority is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for the evening.